Well, let's get to the top of the Premier League table now. Arsenal are trying to tick off the games as they chase their first title since 2004. This weekend, they're at home to Everton, live on Sky Sports, and they kick off a couple of hours earlier than Manchester City, who go to West Ham. So if Mikel Arteta's team have been wobbling, if you think it doesn't show in the Premier League's 5-game form table, they are the pick of the bunch, along with Pep Guardiola's side. So, Stephen, Arsenal have passed most tests this season, you would say. Can you see them getting over the line?
Yeah, I can. Again, it pains me to say it, being Spurs and Spurs fan, ex-Spurs player. So it's hard to watch your North London rivals be so convincingly in the lead. And I almost think the result last night has almost even cemented it more in my mind. The fact that Premier League teams went away and struggled, and Arsenal, they struggled, but they still got a result. They still came back with something intact. It just shows a bit of mental resilience, a bit of resolve that you could label at them before when they dropped and they went out of those positions. But now I just feel like they're defiant in what they want to do. They know exactly what they want to do. And listen, they're taking a lot of criticism for the way they're playing. And I have to admit, I like it. I like the fact that they know how to win. I like the fact that they get the job done. I don't think you can criticise a team for winning games. Yes, maybe they're a bit rough in around the edges when it comes to set pieces, but, you know, finding a way to win is key, and that's what the best teams do. And at the moment, Arsenal are there. I don't see them dropping many points between now and the rest of the season. So, yeah, I do think it's theirs.
Yeah. Everton at home, well, it's not an easy one, really, when you think of it, especially given the away form under Moyes.
No, it's not going to be easy. I don't think any game between now and the rest of the season, there's no game's going to be easy for Arsenal, just because as your front runner, the pressure is building on them to succeed. They get closer to winning one of maybe 4 trophies. You know what I mean? It's an amazing feat that they're still in that, but then every game that goes by gets closer to it, but the pressure builds and they don't want to have a slip up against a team they expect it to beat. So that's almost even more expectation on them in those games. So home to Everton, tough game, but something that I see them being able to get through and get over the line.
There's been so much talk about the Carabao Cup final. It's a week on Sunday and Arsenal face City. Some say that, you know, the winner of this game will be the winner of the league. Others say, no, this is standalone and it has no bearing. Where do you sit on it? I
think it is standalone. I think it's a great marker for whoever wins it. I think if City can win, it might throw a little bit of doubt into the minds of the Arsenal players, which I think at the moment they've handled extremely well. But I think if City can win them, then that might just... listen, maybe we're all hoping that some sort of doubt creeps in the Premier League. But I don't think it defines the season for either of these sides. I think both of these sides, it's a great cup. Listen, winning any trophy, like I said before, it's such a huge honour to have. But they're going to be... Their focus is the Premier League. Their focus is that Champions League, and that'll be a nice stepping stone towards that for either of them. But I still think Arsenal are going to pull off.
We touched on this a bit in the last hour, but is this version of City good enough for you?
They're just not as consistent enough, and that's what's been. Listen, most teams this season have just showed lack of consistency, and they have moments where they're brilliant, and I think a lot of the question marks around City was, at the start of the season, Erling Haaland was absolutely flying. He was scoring so many goals, and the questions are, what if that stops? What if something happens to him? And it's exactly what you expected. The introductions of Gay and Semenyo, I think, has been huge for them. I think really important, and it's given a confidence within the group. But, you know, I think last night they showed frailties again defensively, a lack of self-awareness of where they were, and just kind of over-egging their position on the pitch. So they got caught, and I think at times the City team looks like they're going to get back to a really high level, and then they let it drop. So it's stop-start. They could blow you off the park in a game, but I also think they could lose to you, and that's the thing. City never did that before. It was just they plough through every match, and you know they're going to get results. Whereas at the moment, it's up and down.
Do you think they're too reliant on Haaland?
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems like when he's not scoring, I know Semenyo's picked up, I think, 5 since he's been there, that the rest of the players don't contribute. But it's not just Haaland. I think, you know, the drop-off of form of Phil Foden, he got back into some level, but he's not been playing at the moment. Doku was injured. There's a lot of key players. And then defensively, brought in Gahey, but Diaz has not been the same. Guardiola's been missing. They just haven't looked that complete unit that they were in the past. You still can't put it past them to go and potentially do something, because it's Pep, and he is the best manager and he has some of the best players, so they're capable, but it just feels like they're off it for what they need to be so successful.
As you say, they know how to win, don't they? Look, by the time Arsenal and City face each other in the league mid-April, do you expect the gap to be bigger than the current 3 points?
I expect it to be similar. I don't foresee much of a gain being made from Arsenal because I don't think City dropped that many points, and I don't think Arsenal dropped that many. So I think it's going to be similar. I think when it comes to that game, it's going to be unbelievable to be in a position if there's only 3 or 4 points between them, and that comes to that. But at the moment, Arsenal are 7 points clear. I know City have a game in hand, but they have to go and win that. And I think at times they've let Arsenal off the hook by not winning those games. A few weeks ago, they missed a huge opportunity to claw them back in, and they didn't get their result. They drew against Forest as well, and you just feel such opportunities that they would never have missing, and that's why you feel like Arsenal just have the upper edge.
Opposite performed?
Yeah, I really am. I kind of give every Premier League team a chance going into those games. To concede the goals they did, the City game last night, you felt if there was ever a chance to go to the Bernabeu and win, it was when Real Madrid are missing such key characters, such key players. They weren't anywhere near the level they've been at. And City, you can see the team they sent out was to try and really dominate them. And then Valverde goes and has 45 minutes of some of it's probably one of the best 45 minutes I've seen from any player in a long time. Sensational performance. And then you look at the other teams. Liverpool gone away to Galatasaray. Potentially that may have been on the cards. A tough place to go, but you know it's still in the balance going back to Anfield. Arsenal, I think they got the job done. They didn't perform well, but they still came away with something, which is what we're used to with Arsenal now. And then you look at Chelsea as well, who just feel like, again, a goalkeeper error drops their confidence, then concede those goals. So, you know, it's within the realms of possibility to go and turn it over. Listen, I've been in a really amazing position where we've turned over as a Europa League with Fulham when we went from 3-1 down to Juventus, a huge team, to turn it over at the Cottage. Like, it can happen. You can have those special nights, but for every one of the English teams to do it on the same night or over the course of 2 nights is going to be a big task. And for the level that they play at week in, week out, they'd be really disappointed. I think most of the teams, they've done what they've done. Well,
if you look at Liverpool and Arsenal still in it when you think about it heading for the home legs, do you think they're the two for you that have got the best chance?
Yeah. But, you know, statistically, the fact that there's one goal in it for Liverpool at Anfield, you feel they get a goal. You would think they'd get a goal at Anfield. Arsenal, going back to their place as well, you absolutely feel they're going to come away with something from that game. You know, City, can they come away? Do they have enough about them? Listen, Haaland has been so off the pace for him. If he can hit some form and get back in the goal scorers, he could score 2 or 3. Semenyo's been in great form. Doku struggled the weekend on last night as well. So, you know, City have it within them to get 3 goals at their place comfortably. But if you leave yourself exposed, then Real can hurt you. And that's the same for Chelsea, I think, as well.
Chelsea, they had 15 minutes of madness, didn't they, in Paris?
It was crazy. And against a team like Paris have not been as good as what they were last year. But the talent and quality they have in the forward areas, to have Kvaratskhelia on the bench and bring him off like they did, like the signing of him last year in January is what won them the Champions League. He was unbelievable. He's not at the same level, but you think if he can kick in like he did in the Chelsea game, and that gives him the confidence, it's an uphill struggle for Chelsea to play against players like that if they have to go all out to try and attack, leave yourself exposed. So that's going to be a big, big task.
Do you think too big of an ask for Newcastle to win in Barcelona?
I felt sorry for Newcastle. It was so close, wasn't it? You're going, they've put in such a good performance. Everything about the game, they conduct themselves really well. To get that goal and then to give it away in literally the last kick of the game, last second of the game, the way they did. But going to the new camp, it's going to be so difficult. It really is. They've done it in the past. They've beaten Barcelona in the Champions League, which was an amazing night for that club. And Barcelona aren't at the level that you could expect them to be at. And defensively, you can see Newcastle caused them problems. But it's a huge task to go there and win.
OK, well, Liam Rosenior is going to be part of our lineup on Premier League Friday tomorrow. You can catch...
Now, this is a difficult question for Arsenal fans to answer, but is it time for Noni Madueke to start ahead of Bukayo Saka? Madueke came on for Saka last night to win a penalty that earned Arsenal a 1-1 draw with Bayer Leverkusen. We'll get Charlie's verdict in a moment, but here's the action. Arsenal came close to taking a first-half lead when the ball fell to Gabriel Martinelli, but his shot hit the crossbar. Struck it well. In the second half, Leverkusen went ahead from a corner. Robert Andrich with a free header past David Raya. However, with 4 minutes to go, Madueke was brought down by Malik Tillman. Penalty for the visitors. Kai Havertz back to full fitness. He took it and scored against his former club. So it ended 1-1. Right, Charlie, Madueke has been very impressive from the bench. Should he be starting more?
It's a tough one. It's a very different game coming on, starting the game to coming off on the bench. I think when he's come on and the performance he's been putting on it is warranted starting. But the issue that he has, unfortunately, is that the Arsenal star boy plays in the same position as him. So it's going to take the manager to make a brave decision to make that change. And if I'm Noni Madueke, I'm asking the questions, what more can I do? Because when he come on last night, he changed the game in the favour for Arsenal. He got the ball and ran at the defenders, made things happen. In the 58, 59 minutes that Saka was on the pitch, he didn't.
You fit them both in?
I know, because you get the best out of them when they both play on that right-hand side. And that's why they haven't tried to fit them both in. So for me, you've got to play players in form. And Madueke's the one at the moment that's just stepping up to the plate.
Arsenal, I think you can say they were unconvincing last night, but they got a draw, big favourites to go through. So will Arteta care that they were unconvincing?
No, absolutely not. They want to stay in the tie. They didn't lose, drew the game, going back to the Emirates full. They'll be hot favourites for the game, of course, and he'll be pleased with that they're not out of the tie. They didn't lose the game. They showed character to stay in the game and get the last-minute penalty that Kai Havertz scored and almost put them in a position now where they can be, right, this is a job we've got to do now. But the surprising bit on the whole thing was that Bayer Leverkusen done to Arsenal what Arsenal have been doing to every Premier League team. So that was a bit of an eye-opener, how Arsenal allowed Bayer Leverkusen to score, but the goal was identical to the goals we see Arsenal score pretty much week in, week out.
Kai Havertz is back. How important can he be for Arsenal?
Very important. Very important. When he comes back in, the style of play that we've seen Arsenal play with is kind of suits Kai Havertz. So for me, he's going to be an important player from now to the end of the season, with the Premier League push, with the Champions League push, Carabao Cup coming up, final coming up, and the FA Cup. They're in 4 competitions, and they're well in 4 competitions.
Martin Odegaard, when he was playing, a lot of Arsenal fans were coming on and saying Eze should be playing, or when Havertz is back, he should be playing in that kind of more advanced midfield role. But did Arsenal miss his energy and certainly his creativity?
When you perform the way he does, then you put yourself on a pedestal where if you don't perform to the levels, then people are going to say, oh, you need to come out. Other players should be given the opportunity to play in there. But ultimately, he's the captain of the football club. He's there for a reason. That is for his creativity. That is for his energy. That is for the stuff that he brings on the pitch. So for me, at times, and in games like that, they do miss it.
Well, Sky Sports are partnered with Finalysis to discover true facts. Morning, what did you make of the performance last night?
Morning, guys. Yeah, it wasn't a great Arsenal performance. Nobody's going to try and claim it was anything other than that. I thought it was lacklustre at times. I thought it was a little bit pedestrian. I thought Arsenal were moving the ball too slowly. I certainly saw moments where Arsenal could have played a ball in behind, for example, for Gyökeres that bit earlier, or worked it into Eze that little bit earlier, and it just didn't happen. So I think pedestrian is the word I'd probably use to describe it. And you know, the reason I think Arsenal fans are feeling the way they are, and the reason why there always seems to be this discourse around this type of performance, is that we see them quite often. Now, is that, I'm not saying it's deliberate that Arsenal go out there and play with, you know, not quite being in anything more than 3rd or 4th gear, but it does feel like at times that they're thinking about sustainability. They're thinking about longevity of the season. And it feels like in certain games, they're choosing to lean on their defensive strength and not looking to exert themselves in the hope that over the course of the campaign, maybe that's going to get them to where they need to be. Maybe crumbling the way they have in recent seasons has kind of caused a slight change in the approach, not just from the manager, but in terms of the players as well in games like last night.
Madueke versus Saka. What do you think?
I mean, listen, the beauty of having a squad like Arsenal have is that when someone's not playing particularly well, you can take them out. You can bring someone in who's a massive threat, and you can bring someone in who isn't going to see the level drop too much. Madueke has blown hot and cold at points this season. At times, he's been amazing. And at times, he's not had the impact that we would have hoped. Bukayo Saka's had, I think, some really good games since he's come back from injury. The North London derby away from home is the one that sticks out for me in terms of the performance. I don't think we're in a spot now where we should be saying Bukayo Saka's not the guy on the right-hand side for Arsenal anymore. Madueke's knocking on the door, and that's great. And we can make those changes. And if Madueke starts at the weekend, I don't think too many people will complain. But that is the beauty of the squad. Pitting them up against each other, I don't really see the benefit from an Arsenal point of view of doing that. There's competition there. They're both great footballers. They both bring something different, in my opinion. And having those options means that the manager's got what he needs to be able to pick the right tool for the right job.
But he's always had them options, Harry, and that's why he's built the squad that he has. And no one's saying it's Saka v Noni Madueke, and it's the timing. When you come on for the last half an hour, 20 minutes of a game, it's very different to starting a game, right? It really is. I just thought last night showed that what Saka did in the first 58 minutes, we couldn't really get past him. He wasn't playing with that kind of freedom or that what we've seen him do and expect him to do so often, right? Then when Noni Madueke come on, he just almost done it instantly. And I get it. First half an hour to the last half an hour is very different. But at times, do you think Mikel Arteta will take Saka out and play Madueke and then at times bring Saka off the bench? Or do you think Saka is guy that will stay on the right?
It's an interesting one because if I'm honest with you, I was watching the game yesterday and I was looking at it and I was going, Saka's not playing very well. I'd take him off. But there was a part of me that was like, he's the captain tonight. He's kind of the talisman of this team. Would Mikel Arteta do that? And I was pleasantly surprised, actually, that he went, no, do you know what? You're not playing well tonight. Let's get you off. That showed a lot for me in terms of how Mikel Arteta has kind of changed a bit as a coach in recent years, how he's developed as a coach, how it's not about one ego, it's not about one person, it's about the collective. And it showed me that he's got trust in his squad, that you would take off arguably your best player in a game where you need a goal and bring someone on who at times has divided opinion. I liked it. I liked that he made that move. And if he makes that change going forward, if it's based on form, nobody's going to complain. You know, when we built and assembled this squad, it was always with a view to having different options. Madueke in a crowd scene, for me, is better. He's a much more dangerous dribbler. I think he commits people. And once he gets past you or he pops a pass off left and right, he's sucked in 3 or 4 defenders and he creates carnage all the time. Saka, I'd rather it was Saka cutting in and having a shot. So they've got different strengths and they've got different attributes. And I just think what the game needed at that stage last night was more Madueke than Saka. And Saka didn't have a good night. But that can happen.
How important can Havertz be?
For me, he's so important. He's so important. I think it's gone under the radar, actually. You know, how much Arsenal have missed him this season. I think we keep talking about the squad, the strength and depth. There's lots of focus, obviously, on Victor Gyökeres. Big money signing in the summer, the centre-forward that Arsenal needed, according to a lot of people. And I actually think that the idea that they went for Gyökeres was in part because they felt that he would have the time to adapt and develop because he'd be able to share the role with Kai Havertz. Well, that hasn't been the case. Havertz has missed the majority of the season. He's incredibly versatile. We can play in that attacking midfield role. We can play at centre-forward. He can win duels. He can score goals. For me, you know, missing him has been a massive blow. And actually getting him back fit and protecting him enough to make sure that he doesn't have, hopefully, any more setbacks is probably going to be a real decisive factor in whether or not Arsenal can go on and win one of the big ones this season. I really do believe that.
If Arsenal go through and Manchester City don't, does that help you win the title?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. There was a part of me last night watching Manchester City and thinking, you know, as a rival fan, you know, you want Real Madrid to do the business. But then there was a part of me thinking, this means that they probably will focus more on the Premier League. They don't have that potential quarter-final where, you know, they're going to face, you know, Bayern Munich maybe in 2 games either side of a Premier League game. So in that sense, you know, you kind of want them in it to have those more, to have more games, to have more challenging games in between Premier League games and all the rest of it. But then does it dent their confidence? The fact that they've gone to Real Madrid and got beaten the way they have. I guess we won't know until the end of the season. But in answer to your question, I'd rather they have more games than less games, and I'd rather they have more of those high-intensity games than less games and the time to prepare and build for matches.
OK, thank you, Harry.
Cheers, guys.
Right, Charlie, in the last hour we talked about whether Pep Guardiola had gone too attacking. Let's say he'd put in more of a defensive midfielder rather than Semenyo or Doku, whatever, anyone behind Haaland. and lost 3-0, would we be saying, why didn't he go more attacking?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the beauty of football. We all have opinions of it, and when results don't go right, we use one excuse, and when they do go right, we use the other. I think the alarming bit is in the way they defended and the way they conceded the goals. One long pass from goalkeeper out to Valverde on the right. Nico O'Reilly, for all the plaudits that he's done, he's been really well over the last few weeks and months. Gets done by the flight of the ball. The first touch is brilliant. Donnarumma just loses his bearings, I think. When he's come out the way he does, I think he's outside the box, and now he looks at it, he probably could have grabbed hold of the ball and rolls it into an empty net. But the bigger thing is how they defended, Tom. That was the biggest thing. We talk about the attacking players, and was there too many on the pitch? But defensively, they wasn't great last night. They really wasn't.
Attacking-wise, in the second leg, could they steamroller Real Madrid and take this at least to stoppage time, extra time, and maybe even go through?
It's how they
because they have to attack. They're 3-0 down.
Yeah, they have to attack, of course. But Real Madrid, do they try and nick one on the counter? That's if they get one, then the tie's obviously pretty much over. It's how they start. They can't concede. Like I say, the biggest thing is how vital is that penalty missed to Real Madrid? How important was that for Man City that penalty didn't go in? That still keeps the door ajar. And if City start well and get that first goal in the first 10 minutes, then it could be game on.
Well, it was a tough night for City. It was a good one for Chelsea for about 74 minutes, but having battled back to level at 2-2 with PSG, they collapsed in the final 15 minutes, losing 5-2. PSG took the lead through Bradley Barcola, his first Champions League goal for over a year. But Chelsea equalised. Enzo Fernandez set up Malo Gusto. His shot went under Matvey Safonov. But PSG went back in front before half-time. Chelsea caught on the counter-attack. Ousmane Dembele. Pass. No. Shoot. Good decision. Beating Philip Jorgensen, but Chelsea hit back early in the second half. Pedro Neto picked out Fernandez. So 2-2. But a mistake from Jorgensen cost Chelsea dearly. He tried to play out from the back, gave the ball away, and Vitinha made it 3-2. And then it was 4-2. Kvaratskhelia, the great strike. So 4-2. But then look at this. The players clashed because Pedro Neto pushed the ball boy here while trying to get the ball back quickly. The referee took no action against Neto for the incident. In the final moments of the match, Kvaratskhelia scored again to make it 5-2. PSG in control, I think it's fair to say. So you said what went wrong for Manchester City, what went wrong for Chelsea?
Defensive frailties. We can say about the goalkeeper and the two goals that he conceded that he shouldn't have. But overall, defensively, and I've said it for weeks and months now on this show, is that they have no leaders, characters, big game experience, players that are in the 30s. Like I said, Anton Rudiger should never have been able to leave that football club. He is someone that Chelsea are crying out for. And you just look at the other goals that they conceded. Where are they? Cole Palmer has a shot that gets saved by PSG goal. Then they get hit on the counter-attack with only two Chelsea defenders chasing back. Listen, I just thought it was a poor performance in the end for Chelsea. And we're saying missed opportunity, but that last goal could be a real pivotal one.
What about Pedro Neto pushing the ball boy?
Frustration. His team's just been given the runaround for the last 20 minutes and the ball boy's tried to hide the ball. There's no need for it. Of course there isn't, but I'm putting that down to pure frustration.
Pedro Neto wasn't sent off. What do you think of that?
What actions are you wanting to come of that, or what action should be given to him? Listen, there's no way there should be any room for that in our game to putting hands on it. Anybody, let alone the ball boy, that's just doing their job, that's there. I'm putting it down to pure frustration. I'm putting it down for the players' perspective, pure frustration. I feel like the ref made the right decision.
OK. If we talk about Chelsea there, defeats for them. There was also defeats for Liverpool, Spurs, Manchester City, draws for Arsenal and Newcastle United. So, in terms of those results, how much has that surprised you? That, I mean, could you have foreseen none of the English clubs getting a win in that first leg?
No, but
Doesn't mean they're going out.
No, it doesn't.
obviously.
But I'm going to say the biggest surprising one is obviously Arsenal at Leverkusen, because you'd expected them to go there and win. That's because how well they've done this season and the expectation that's on Arsenal's shoulders to go there and win. Listen, they're not out of the tie, of course, but that was just, as you say, a shock one, and they only drew 1-1. But I think Liverpool going to Galatasaray, losing, you never know what team Liverpool's going to turn up. The other teams, it's a strange one. And Newcastle, 1-1 at home to last kick of the game penalty with Barcelona. So I would say Arsenal not winning would be the biggest eye-opener one for me.
We've got a voice note from Kenny.
Well, for me, I think the English clubs are arrogant. They don't have much respect for the teams in Europe. So when they go there, they expect to blow away their opponents. But obviously, as we can see, it's not that easy. So they need to, get a hold of themselves. They might be good and all, but show some respect to their opponents.
You used the word arrogance earlier on, didn't you?
Yeah, sometimes it's more, is it for the media, is it the players, is it the clubs, is it the fans, is it expectations? We go in there and just, because we had 6 of the top 8 in the league format, the Champions League, as soon as you go to the knockouts, it's a completely different format, and maybe we're going into it too arrogant, expecting one of the English teams should win. But we got knocked over in that first leg with only what 2 of the teams drawing, the other 4 getting beat. So it's going to be a very interesting second leg. Also, with 2 teams look like they're 2/3 teams look like they're out.
All right, well, let's ask you that now then. So you said at the top 2.5 English teams will go through. Explain that. 2.5. First of all, who are the 2 that are going through?
I expect Arsenal to have too much for Bayer Leverkusen in the second leg. I honestly do. I expect Liverpool to have too much for Galatasaray at home, Anfield, and they should have enough to beat them and to get through into the net. They really should, but it just needs to be the Liverpool of old to turn up. And the half one where you can't cancel them out and can't write them off is Newcastle. They're well and truly in the game. Yes, they've got a tough battle ahead going to Barcelona, but they're well and truly in the game. Where them other 3, I'm sorry to say, but you're out.
So Man City out, Chelsea out, Tottenham out, Liverpool, Arsenal through, and Newcastle, you're at 50-50 at the moment.
Yeah.
OK, well, we can get the Opta have been doing their predictions for this, and there's only, look at them, 1, 2, 3 of those clubs have got less than 10%. I mean, Spurs there on 3.3% chance. There, and so Arsenal, Liverpool only about 50% though. Does that surprise you that they're not more surprised?
They're still what they're a goal behind, aren't they? You'd expect more, but it's Anfield European nights. That's where everyone is holding on to. They really are.
Every club's gone down from the first leg prediction, by the way.
Well, I'm not surprised. Spurs started off at 46.3. Of course, they've gone down. Of course, I'm surprised on the Newcastle one, really. I'm surprised on the Newcastle one.
You thought the Newcastle one would be lower?
No, I thought it'd been a bit higher, if I'm honest. They're still in the game.
Higher after this second leg, after the first leg?
After the first leg, yeah, because they're still in the game. I know it's a tough battle going there against Barcelona, but they are well and truly in the game.
When you said 2.5, I think 3. I think Newcastle will go through as well. But I'm also not ruling out Manchester City. So
I just think they've got that bit between their teeth where it's all gun. Everything for Newcastle is down the Champions League route, because their league form at the moment has not been up to scratch, and they look like they're going to get in the top 5. No, they don't.
No. OK, well, they could still get Europa Conference League or Europa League, I suppose, if they have a good end to the season. When you play over 2 legs, every club seems to want to be away first, right? Now, OK, we don't know who's gone through yet, but only one team won away from home, and that was Bayern Munich winning 6-1, actually, against Atalanta. What's changed?
I think the narrative of that is now swiftly going to move away from the fact that you need to remember everybody used to bank on the fact that away goal was counted. Now that's been scrapped.
It's been scrapped for a long time.
Yes,
so
but
why does clubs still want to be away?
Because everyone thinks they get them at home in the second leg. If you're chasing the game, then you get home fans. But why not flip that and be like, well, why don't we get in front at home?
Get the lead.
Get the lead at home. So for me, I don't really buy into that. However long the away goals rule has been in scrapping, it's still stuck into that mode. If I would like to play away first, it's a tougher job to do. Well, look at them results last night. The teams that played at home, and especially against the English clubs, dominated them.
Some clubs are experts at taking the lead and keeping the lead over 90 minutes. So it does kind of make more sense to want to be at home first, for me.
Well, whatever decision the English clubs made last night...
Because the teams who finish higher in the league get the away leg because it's seen as an advantage.
But they going on the bit of... But you can never go... When you're playing European games in that league format, Arsenal are not looking at it and they're just thinking we're going to finish top spot because, so say, we get the easier draw. We get the easier tie. That's more of the look they're looking at rather than home and away. That home and away advantage for me now in the European football is non-existent.
Yeah.